Hey, fellow producers, lovers of music, my friends. Here I've got a breakdown of a track called Jackie Brown. Anyway, well, you'll see where I got the name from. It's coming out on This Ain't Bristol on the 3rd of July 2026 in a couple weeks. And funny enough, this is a tune actually that I actually started this tune back in 2017 when I found the original file. And now and again, I like to go over old projects and just listen to them, just like, you know, and hopefully hoping that you've actually improved from then, isn't it really? But yeah, so yeah, it was a tune that I'd started a while ago and that as well. And as I said, I kind of opened and I thought, oh, you know what? That's a bit of a vibe that is. I'll finish that. And also sometimes I do like the challenge of being able to open an old track and hear where you would necessarily do things different now or better. Obviously, that's just down to opinion, isn't it, really? But what I'm going to do in this video, I won't babble on anymore, is I'm going to break it down into two parts. The first bit is what I would refer to as, say, like the arrangement project, where there's still some MIDI and that in here, because there's a couple things I do with the MIDI that, you know, I wanted to show, just, you know, it might be helpful to anyone. And then my normal process then would be, once I'm happy with the arrangement, save it, resave it, and then I'd bounce all the channels down to audio. So on the new project, literally just audio, and that then there's no instruments, there's no processing apart from the stuff which would be like on the return channel, and that really. But yeah, so I'll dive in. I'm not going to go through every channel individually. We'll do that in the second bit, because then it would just be boring and long. So one of the things I did do down here, right, so what I have done, one of the things, let me just loop this certain section. Actually, it's probably good to give you a little bit of a vibe of the tune first, wouldn't it? And now you'll see where I got the name Jackie Brown from. Oh, oh. Yeah, so that's the drop. As you can see, it's a little bit of a bassy, fun, light-hearted kind of jam, I guess. Fuck knows. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. So what I'll do is I'll loop this section here. Now, like I said, we'll go into all the kick and all the individual elements on the next one. But here, what I did use was on the bass hit. Now, because it was an old project, everything had already been bounced down to audio, and that was the bass hit. Now, the actual bass sound is on the original Massive. If I turn these off here and my soloing the layer, you can see that there. That's kind of the sound. It's actually the very first preset you get on the machine, called 1991. And that was it anyway. But when I opened it up, it was like I'd obviously adjusted some of the parameters for it to sound like that. I mean, there is a little bit of, is that reverb on it? Yeah, there's some reverb on it at the moment for that tail. But when I opened up the preset again, because I was like, oh, let me play it in, let me see if I could, you know, let me just hear it. This one was better. You know, I preferred the vibe anyway. That was the main thing. So what I did do, because I found as it was being so repetitive, it was a bit boring. As you can see, it's pretty much the same waveform all the way. So I layered it with exactly the same sound, but this one's just got some automation in it, as you can see there. Let's have a look. Just so it just feels like the sound's moving a bit more as the track progresses. Let's see how it changes up a bit. Up to there. See what I mean? And if you solo it, you'll be able to hear it more clearly, but But yeah, that's what I said, and obviously it was just a way of getting more movement into the sound without having to sacrifice, like, you know, the original vibe. Yep. The LFO. Now the LFO, that is a standard. That is the massive again. That is. Now, as you can see, it's audio. You can actually visually see as well, if we just make that bigger, how it slightly changes over the arrangement. But one thing I do like to do, even though once I've bounced to the audio, is I've got like this little group at the bottom of the project, and in this one here, that is, if I just activate that, yeah, that's just the original sound there in the massive, with just the cutoff really going to, what's that, going to the envelope, and of course the LFO. You're right. So the clap. Now with the clap, I did want to show this because I love that sort of effect with a clap. If we let's just mute everything off apart from the drums. See, with a clap there, you get that. And with that there, like in the actual sample itself, the sample's got like the pre-delay or pre-clap on it. And then as we go to the actual MIDI, you can see how it's pushed. It's nudged quite a bit before the kick, and that there, which gives you that sort of effect, and that on it. You know, you'll hear that in most of my tracks. I'm a big fan of that sort of loose clap. Bit further down, we got a loop, splice loop. That wasn't in the original tune. Well, if I started in 2017, it ain't going to be, is it? But you can just hear the blatant energy that it gives. Rim shot. In just a little bit of velocity change on the MIDI there. No groove applied. Not that it would have actually affected it anyway. Hi-hat, that's just there. Let's have a look what we got down here. Anything different on this? Pretty sure. Yeah, there's just a little bit of velocity change there. And, you know, little tip, if anybody wants to know how to do that. So you have got the velocity here at the bottom, which you can change using that. But if you hover over the note itself and click down, you can drag it up and down, which tends to be a little bit quicker. If speed's your thing. Yeah, and all I'm doing there is I'm holding command as I hover over it. If you're using Windows, I believe it's Alt, but don't quote me on that. I'm sure you'll be able to Google it in no problem. With no problem either. Tambourine. Okay, well, interesting enough with that. Has that got any change on that? No. I've put a reverb directly on the sound there, just to give it that softness, and that really, isn't it? You know, we could have sent it to some reverb, which I imagine I'd do in the next project, but yeah, it's taken away the not necessarily the harshness, but the transient. It's just making it softer. Then the ride, there's something I wanted to show you in there. So with the ride cymbal. The ride cymbal there. So I've adjusted the envelope a little bit, mainly for the release, because obviously I want that tail. There's the LFO tool, which is by the same people who make Serum. I believe it's pronounced XFAT or Zyfat. I don't know. I'm not too sure, but if anyone who knows the Serum, which a lot of us do these days, you'll notice that that's like the LFO window. And one thing I do really enjoy about that is how easy it is to just shape, your sound and that as well, using obviously just by adjusting it. And then we've got the, I don't know if it's the Haas, that effect, Haas. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I should stop being so ignorant, should I really? Look, this, fuck it. It's not going to change the way it sounds, is it? So, but yeah, that's just got that's that standard wide sort of sound, isn't it, really? Which can be replicated with delays, which again, you'll be able to Google. It's not too difficult to do, just by changing the timing on the left and the right. But this one's by kilohertz. This is. I do like kilohertz. They have got a lot of tools which just do the job. You know, like does exactly what it says on the tin. And that's probably even the standard preset as soon as it's put on. Nice. But what I did want to show you is in here on the modulation section here with the pitch. So if I turn that off and we listen to it in context. Now, that hasn't just transposed and pitched up the sound. It's actually now going on this sort of shape. So what I'll do is I'll go through the actual process, because I think that'll be easier to show you than trying to explain it, because probably don't even know how to explain it. Right, so there's a standard ride and that as well. We could just pitch it up. But then what I'd like to do is first of all change the timing over here to 8 beats. That's how long it takes for it to get from here to here. So basically it's never going to get from there to there, because it's on a re-trigger anyway. So it means every time it hits, it's pretty much just going here. But then I change that, I offset that there. So it gets to the peak faster. And then just... feel like it's more energy than that to it. Yeah, that's that. Is there anything else down here I wanted to show you? Nothing really. I mean, I have got this build as well. And that is your Serum 2 even. 2 saw waves with the unison applied to the one, just to give it that width. As you can see there, the LFO, the cutoff, is modulated here by the cutoff, the filter even is modulated by the LFO, just here on a quarter note. No, it isn't. 1, 2, 3. It's on the beat, isn't he? I always get mixed up with them, man. Yeah, anyway. What else have I changed on there? Yeah, you can see that's how much is being modulated. Just little movement. The semitones over here have been changed to 24. So as you can see, the pitch bend moving there. But that is done in the MIDI itself. Just come over to the envelopes tab, drop it down. Obviously, what I have done up here is it's only showing us. Let me turn on the automation. It's only show all parameters, yeah. So just on the MIDI control, pitch bend, right at the top. And then obviously you can see you're just doing that sort of linear shape. Yeah, and that's it for this one. I didn't really think, I thought there's a couple things in there that, you know, someone might find helpful. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to close this project now. I'm going to open up the other one and we'll just go through it as a breakdown. Like through the project and that really. And, you know, just pointing out anything that I feel might be helpful or even worthy. And now for the second part. So I've closed that project now, opened up this one. This is just like, as I said, like this is mainly the mix where everything has been committed to the audio now. So there's no like automation or, well, not automation that I can think of. maybe on the groups, but there's no instruments or anything in this now. There's no MIDI unless you add something along the way, but yeah. So I'll just find this bit of the tune. Yeah, let's just go from here and we'll just go through it. So we got let's just mute everything now. That'd probably be easier, wouldn't it? Leave that on. We'll go down here. Vox group. Go through. Just leave the effects off because they're pretty boring. So we've got our kick drum. Now, one thing I remember when I was working on the track, when I first opened back up the track, the kick, I felt to myself, I thought, oh, you know, could it be a better kick? Could I change the kick? But what I found was it lost its vibe. You know, the vibe was gone. Obviously, the kick with dance music is a big element, like, to the track. So, you know, when I changed it for the sake, truthfully, of like a little bit more volume, a bit more loudness from it, really, I was like, nah, man, it's like the vibe's just gone, you know. And I think that's one thing that I've really come to the conclusion of, like, you know, which has really helped me when it comes to like finishing tunes, is that all my task is to get this tune sounding the best it can. Yeah, a reference other people's music and stuff and that as well. Mainly to just make sure that my bass is loud enough and the highs are not too loud and are not too piercing or some stuff. But volume wise, it's like the vibe is the most important thing, because I don't think there's too many people on the dance floor going, oh my gosh, the lofts and measurement on that is just out of this world. Like you know, they're not. It's just more about the vibe, because, you know, there's loads of tracks out there which, you know, a lot of people might go, quote unquote, the mix down's fucking shit, man. Like, you know, but the vibe is there, and that's the most important thing. But again, that's just my opinion. I'm not going to get carried away with it. We'll get back into this. But I just feel that, though, that just takes a lot of pressure off you, you know, because we are, I mean, I don't know if it is currently like so more, but it was through the loudness war when everyone's trying to get the biggest, loudest sound. And it's just like, I just felt like the music itself was sacrificed for that. Anyway, fucking I'm just getting a bit like distracted. But yeah, just as you're working on your track, just try and get your track to sound the best that you can get it to sound, and move on. So the kick itself, what processing have we got on here? Just the EQ, which is just give it a little bit of a dip there. And I've just, you know, dipped out, 160 is that there, which is quite a common sort of problem area. And not really, but, you know, I've just dipped it, and I guess I felt it sounded better. And then I've just took some out here, about 300 hertz and that as well. Should we hear it without it on? Yeah. Yeah, it just feels more controlled. And that then the Oxford Evolution, which is just boosting some of the transients there to give it that punch and taking away some of the sustain. That is like, yeah, I should take that off as well, shouldn't I, really? Yeah, it's just taking some of the boominess away from the kick without having to over EQ it. That would be like an enveloper. There's one in Logic which is really good. Their standard one, but I do really like the Oxford stuff. And then the Oxford EQ, just giving it, yeah, a tiny little boost at 100, and let's just round it up to 110 hertz there. Nothing too major. The kick layer, so that's that top. There, as you can see, just got a standard EQ, just giving it a boost. So you can see, yeah, that's giving it a lot more sort of high-end energy. The sub bass, and I'd have gone in here and actually shaped that around the kick. Probably even just cut it off if it was overlapping, because I guess it just sounded better. But just to stop any sort of overlapping and that with the because the kick's quite a got subby frequency in it anyway. On that, let's have a look. We've got the Slate Digital tape like saturator, and it doesn't look like I've done anything to that apart from, should we turn them off? Keep pressing that, don't I? Followed by the Pro Q4, the legendary. Yeah, I got a little bit of a dip there, and obviously just cutting off all that top because obviously didn't feel needed it because with all the other sounds and that in there. And the track spacer, that there. Track spacer is really nice for side chaining. There's loads of things you can use for side chaining, and to be honest, I don't really have a set one. I just like the fact I just like to experiment with different things. It's like the FabFilter Pro C, the compressor, that's got a nice setting in it called pump, and that can get a real aggressive sort of side chaining pump going on. The track spacer is just a nice sort of general overall side chain, or sometimes I'll even just use Ableton's compressor, and that really. And then if it works, it works. Move on. The bass hit, what we've got going on here. Pro Q4, just a dip here in the low frequencies, and obviously just some frequencies that must have felt resonant there. Working on the dynamic mode. So with the dynamic mode in the Pro Q4, if you're not familiar, as you can see there, it's dipping the frequency once it goes past a certain volume or a certain threshold there. So that just means you're not affecting that whole frequency band. Another track spacer, you don't need to see that, you've seen one before. There's the layer. They're being sent here to a chorus and a reverb. I'll go into them down there because I think that could just get messy if I'm going through every one, and that I'll just show you what those are individually as we get down there. The LFO, Pro Q4, obviously they're just dipping that one frequency. I imagine I'd have thought resonant. Where was that? About 160 again. The Oxford Dynamics, really love this Sony. I'm sure it's Sony Oxford, hence why it's called Sonox. But yeah, just a basic compressor really. I mean, you can see why it's being used because you can see here where the dynamics and that are kind of shifting, aren't they, or the peak is. So obviously just wanted to hold it in a certain sort of space or range. The Soothe, yes, the legendary. This is just amazing. If you don't know about the Soothe 2 even, definitely check it out. It's just a real great tool to just put on. I mean, see there, that's just the factory default that is. And I've put it on and it's just dipping those frequencies. I think I have actually adjusted some of the parameters here, but check out the Soothe 2. What's the utility doing? Automation. I've used the gain there for automation. I like to, if I do want to automate a volume, I prefer to use the utility or the gain so that I've still got control over this without having to piss around with all the automation and stuff. I mean, I could probably just put a gain on after and turn that up, but okay, that's the way I do it. And again, that's just volume to summarize what I was saying. Here, I know why this is on. So as it got towards the end, yeah, that just comes on. That's just automated to come on there. That's it. And it's just cutting off all the highs, just making it so feel a bit more towards the end of the track. Yes, another track spacer as well, but you've seen that. The drums, right, we'll come back to the drum group, but in here, if we turn them all on, turn them on one by one actually. Let's go back here. Where's the busy part? There. That, which has got Low cut on it, a little bit of a dip there, probably just a frequency I wanted to control a bit more. Decapitator, real nice distortion unit. I see. Here, look, I've actually set the Pro Q4 to dynamically control the stereo width in the track. Let's have a look what we got down here. The VSX. I'll just grab this for you. The BX Solo, which is really good on the master, because then you can just listen to just like those, just the side frequencies, or the side. So if anything's a bit too out there, let's see if you take it off. Yeah, it's just controlling it better. But that's the BX Solo. You could probably get anything else as well, which might be able to do that. That's what I was doing there. The rim shot. Low cut. Where's that? 180. With the erosion. The erosion's just giving it a little bit of texture. Very slight. It's almost like an 8-bitty. Because essentially, I think that's what it's actually doing. I don't know. I don't know. But it's definitely having almost like that bit crushery sort of effect. It's not too. Yeah, just enough. So, yeah. Hi-hat. Pro Q4. Doing nothing. Turn it on. Another Pro Q4, let's turn it on first. Hi-hat layer. Now this one, obviously, if that hi-hat was the lead hat, that's probably me just dipping this to make room for that other hi-hat, so it's not just overloading that frequency range. Little bit of a dip there, and I've got a low cut. I think one thing that I used to do was, I remember like years ago seeing some YouTube tutorial where someone was like, oh, cut all your hi-hats at 500 hertz and bam, it was that set sort of thing. And I was like, shit, yeah, fucking hell, you must have to do that then. And I've done that. But then one thing I did, I tell you, one tutorial I watched actually was a guy called Mark Maitland. If you don't know him, he's a badass like mixing engineer and that as well. And he was working on someone's track, and what he did was like he started rolling off from the bottom, like a low cut on a hi-hat from the bottom, and one thing he mentioned was like, you got to listen to it, because all right, hi-hats commonly we're not really focusing on that low end energy that's down there, but sometimes it adds to the groove and the movement of the track. So one thing that was very quick, I said, oh shit, yeah, I got to do this. And the one main thing that I've learned over the years is that every track that you make is different, unless you're making the same tune over and over again, like, with the same kick drum and the same bass sound and the same melody, and that you are going to slightly alter the way that you approach, the way that you treat the sounds and that, because it's all about the context that they're sitting in. I try not to solo too many sounds while I'm working on the mix, because unless there's like a little bit of annoying, like, I don't know, frequency or pop or something in there that I'm trying to get rid of, because it's all about how it sounds in context with the tune and that as well. So, there's probably some things in this, like, you're probably watching this going, fuck's he doing that for? Like, fucking, oh, well, what are you doing that? Like, but that's one thing which, again, is just one of the greatest things of it, is there is no set way to do anything. It's just try something. If it works for you in that context, rolling, move on. If it doesn't, that doesn't mean that it won't work in other contexts, like, so just gather as much information as you can, try some things. If you like the result, wicked. If you don't, keep it maybe there in the memory bank, but just try and find an alternative way of getting something to sound like the way you want it to, or however you're happy with. Moving on. Another hi-hat. See, I'm listening to that now and I'm like, oh god, it sounds a little bit messy there. Fuck it, man, it's done. Move on. Like, what have we got on there? Yeah, just some more low cut, little bit of a dip there again where that hi-hat, I imagine. So the opener, I love her. Yeah, that hi-hat's just sitting. Little bit of a pan going on. Tambourine, we've committed to the audio. Oh, tambourine, man. It's all about the tambourine. The tambourine is the most underrated piece of percussion for me when it comes to energy. It's just there, isn't it? Yeah. Adds that little sparkle. What have I got on there? Obviously just taking out what I believe was an annoying frequency. That's one. I mean, look, you can see that one's higher there. I've probably gone to that there and like turned it down, and gone, oh no, it doesn't sound as good. Because one thing I think we can fall very easily into the trap of doing in this day and age with all this like technology that we've got is allowing our eyes to do the work for us. And I remember years ago being in the studio with my pal Danny, and I was there and one of the channels was clipping, and I was like, oh, don't you need to sort that channel out there? It's red lighting. He goes, close your eyes. It's okay. Close my eyes. He goes, does anything sound wrong with that channel? I was like, nah. He goes, you make music with your ears, not your eyes. It's like, oh. So sometimes it might even be good to just come down here and even turn off the is that one? Which one is it? Wow. And just make music with your ears and see if you'd make the same decision as when you're looking at it. A bit of a track spacer on that as well. So because the tambourine is like basically on the beat, it's very, very consistent, like like that. I've just given it a little bit of a side chain off the kick. Where's it gone off? Yeah, just gives it that little bounce, moves it out the way for the kick. Not completely, because I don't want to lose the whole energy of it, with it being there, but just enough. The ride. Obviously the ride's been committed now, and on that I've whacked a reverb directly on the sound. If you put reverb directly on a sound, you are going to be sacrificing transients and that when doing that, basically making it softer, so it's not as like doesn't hit as hard. But that's what I wanted. In that case, that's there. It worked. It was for the ride. It was like nice. It's made it a little bit airy. Just your standard Ableton reverb, and then the soften by Sonox. It's really easy. It's the same. I believe it's the same sort of principles of like the soothe and that. Really, it's almost like a DSL, or I think they're referred to as suppressors. I don't know. I'm just going with it. And as you can see there, I put it on. There's only 3 settings, but mix bus, because it's not really comes under. I think it comes more under the category of the mix bus than anything else out of the other 3. And you can see there, it's just taking out that like fatiguing sort of frequency range. Take it off. Yeah, if you can hear that, it just gives it that little bit of control. Crash, standard crash. Pro Q4 again. What we got going on? Bit of a dip. Disco fill. That's what's next in line. Do. Oh, that's quite close, isn't it? Do. On here, we're using the Pro Q4, but we're using the Pro Q4 here, look. So, what I've done, anyone who's familiar with it will know all about this. But if not, one of the greatest, or my favourite things about the FabFilter EQs is the fact that you can sidechain from a different signal. In this case, I've sidechained from the kick. And as you can see here, what it's then showed up is, look, we can see the kick here. But you can also see in this section here, this red, this is where there's masking or mud or clashing basically going on. And, you know, I imagine what I'd have done is I would have cut off that there and just listened to it, and it would have just lost too much body. So if we go to there, yeah, it does. And like, so what I've then done is just got this here, just set up this band here, side-chained it, obviously we're side-chaining it off the kick, and then opened up here this control, and just by turning that on you can see it just dips then when the kick hits. And I made it a bit wider. The wider 32. Yeah, you can read as well. But this, yeah. So that's what I was going to say. This is actually a free plugin. This is by Infected Mushroom, or is it by Polyverse? An Infected Mushroom, don't know. But yeah, that's just, it's a free plugin. So anything's good for free, you know. Right. So that's there. What we got going on a bit lower down, the Omnisphere. So what I wanted to do, I haven't actually even showed this bit in the video yet, but one thing I do like to do in tracks, if I think it works as well when obviously working on it, is it, because obviously this tune has got that basic sort of hit. I've actually muted the vocal as well at the minute, but the vocal is the impact, like, so I wonder why it sounded a little bit dead there. So what I do like to do then is on the breakdown here is kind of get like a mad sort of contrast from the drop. Context. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, that's the Omnisphere, that is. If you know about the Omnisphere, got some real good presets in there, real great sounds. Definitely worth checking out by Spectrasonics if you haven't already. What we got going on here, just dipping a bit at the top there, as we can see, it's quite a lot of high-end. Can't even hear it, that's beyond my ears, that is, but I've dipped it anyway. The Oxford Involution again. It's taking away some of the transients this time. What is really good about that as well is it's because it's like one thing I'd have done in the past, if there's a sound which is a little bit too in your face, and then like or like the attack is a bit too hard, and as it's audio anyway. Saying that, I could have just done it in this anyway. Yeah, as it's audio and the transients are I'd have reached for like an EQ and tried to EQ it out and that, but then again you're sacrificing frequencies and that then, but like these envelopers are just really handy. See, look. So that's a bit too soft, that is, but that's enough. Track spacer again. Utility again, just for some automation on the volume, and then the standard Ableton reverb, which I imagine would be there. Yeah, just to soften it up a bit. Cool. Oh, I forgot I didn't show you what was on the drums channel, on the drums bus. So if I solo those, let's turn them all off. Bring me one. you can hear the difference in that there then. Now, I don't always put a compressor on the drums unless I feel like it needs it. So what I'm using here is UAD's 1176 clone. Ratios on 4, which is the lowest, the input. And as you can hear what it's doing. It's really gluing the elements together there by lifting those highs. Attack is quite slow to make sure those transients are getting through, and the release is reasonably fast. Well, it's very fast, so it's not really holding them down. Then for some saturation, I really like this Metric Halo mix head. Worth checking out the Metric Halo stuff. It doesn't look great, but it's fucking amazing. Well, I think it is anyway. I think it's really good. But most cases, all I do on here when I first open it up is type in drums, and it's either going to be the A-Baines drum bus, Alex P drum bus, or if I haven't put compression on previous, the only thing that you should put on your drum bus. It's there in black and white, man. But yeah, that there for just some saturation. And if we A-B them, see it's really brighten them up. The soothe again with tame hi-hat. I think one of the greatest things about the soothe is its presets, man. It's just got some really good presets in there. The Marg, I think it's pronounced as. See, all I'm using here, this is really good for like higher frequencies like that sort of air frequency. But in this case, I'm just boosting 5,000 hertz. Really nice EQ that is. Pro Q4, what are you doing? Controlling the stereo image again and just cutting off here at 85 hertz. Would have probably sounded good. And then again, the involution, just boosting the transients up a little bit. Let's just turn it off. If you can hear that. Yes, so going further down. The vocal group in here, what have we got? Just some more. Oh, so I'm not going to keep going through all the Pro Q4s because it's the same old, ain't it, really? But I'll show you if there's anything different on it. Now, on this one, what I have used for the vocal, I believe this is an emulation of I think it's the Neve desk. I think it is. And this is Slate's version of it. Is it Slate's? Soft Tube. Is it Soft Tube? Yes, but yes, Soft Tube. Soft Tube. See, it's just boosting there at what 12,000 hertz and roughly about 5,000. Just adds that brightness. Just really nice on vocals. That is. That's just doing that there. The breath. So the breath. What's the breath? Yeah, that's just layering the. Yeah, just layering the that open hi-hat. Jackie. I think that's just the Jackie Brown hit, isn't it? They're not saying Jackie Brown, but I don't know what they're saying. Jackie Bear. Jackie Bear. What are they saying? Jackie Bear. Jackie Brown. I'd have probably watched Quentin Tarantino film or something and a Jackie Brown on the mind. Another Pro Q4 again. Obviously, that. I'm sure for that I used the Ableton's Fade to Grey. Definitely worth checking out the Fade to Greys. It's in audio effects over here. And audio effect rack. There's shitloads. If you don't know about this audio effect rack, get in there and have a good play. Some really good like modulation tools and even presets and that for processing, etc. Oh, what have I done on that? Oh man, I didn't show you in the other one. That's Wave's Meta Flanger. That is. Yeah, and again, this is what I was mentioning about earlier, which I felt was missing the oh. That bit. Oh. That's the impact for me. Fuck the bass. It's all about the It's that bit of life, and it's just life, man. It's human vocals are life. What have I done to that? Looks like I've pulled for the Sontec. Another Pro Q4. Let's have a quick peek. Okay, a little bit more EQ going on there. Then the Oxford EQ. Love the Oxford EQ. Very subtle this would have been. Is it? It's not even on. Okay. But what? I know what I'd have done. Okay. So that was probably an A-B sort of thing, that was. Where I'd have tried with the Oxford EQ first, and then this is again by Metric Halo. This one looks a lot cooler, doesn't it? And all I've done there is just, I'm sure I used, Bailey's Vox Bus, and it's just boosting here. What is that, about 12,000 hertz? Yeah, boosting. Just giving it that brightness, that life. And then, what we got down here? Oh, that's just it. That just sounds like the with a echo on it, echo delay, Vox intro. That's just the same sound that is forward and then in reverse. And then just a film sample.
Yep, you're right. I need to work on my attitude. Bye then.
I love little film samples, man. You just chuck them in, and it's just like they're just nice. They just add that little bit of vibe. Fuck knows.
Yep, you're right. I need to work on my attitude. Bye then.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it for the track. This is just effects. This is just your standard uplifters and downlifters and a bit of a Claude Von Stroke one going on there, we can see. Oh, thinking, what can I hear here? Yeah, but I'm not going to bore you with all of those. Those are pretty standard, I imagine. Again, just uplifters, downlifters, effect shots, and that really. Right, so the return channels. So what I like to do with the returns, there's these three reverbs here mainly. So the first reverb is mainly for the drums. Now, using these three reverbs on that, I got this from a book that I read a couple years ago by a guy called Nathan Nyquist. And he's got a book, he's got a whole book series, actually, one on EQing, compression, bus compression, reverbs and delays and that sort of stuff. So easy to read, and it was like the first book that I'd read that actually made sense to me, and that as well. And that's where I got it from. If anybody would like to look any further, they're on Amazon. They're not very much at all, probably less than a pint in this day and age, to be fair. But the first one here, that's mainly for the drums. That's representing, I'm using the Softube TSAR1. It's got a bit of pre-delay, bringing it to the forefront, and very little decay, if any. And as you can see there, I've actually removed all those lower frequencies. Don't need them. Next in line, I've got the Valhalla Room. And what I'm actually doing with this is one thing how that Nathan, like I know him, he explains in the book, is like, imagine standing on a stage, because obviously with your reverb, you're trying to create a space that your track's sitting in. So Imagine you're standing on a stage and there's someone sitting in the front row, there's someone sitting in the back row, and then you can get someone sitting sort of in the middle row. And we want to create a reverb that represents all those like people is sitting in those different places. So if I go to the one at the back first, which I've used, instead of using a hall reverb, I've used this UAD plate. And you can hear how like the drums sound like they're in the forefront, much closer. And that like bass hit there, leady bass hit, sounds like it's much further. That's brought down mainly to do with like the decay. And on here, I mean, I've added more pre-delay than I'd have thought of there. In context, I probably liked it. Right, low cut, just cutting off that bottom. And then it looks like I've taken a little bit away from the bass and it's on full wet and that with that. But obviously that sounds further away. Now the reverb room, it's got more in between the pre-delay, but then again I fucked with the pre-delay, didn't I? But the decay is lower anyway. Mix is on full. And that's representing more of that middle. The gate, this one here, so this is a fourth reverb, which I just use just for effect. And to fully get this, what I do here, I just use this just for the clap. As you can see, the clap's been fully sent to it. And then I turn this down. If I take it off, it just adds that life. It's just got its own little, like, apparently, who was it? Like my pal Danny says, I think it's the Phil Collins trick. Don't quote me on that. Back in the 80s, where they would gate the reverb. So, if you hold it, see, it's pretty long. Oh. So you can even hear it in context. Big difference. What I got down here, some delays, got a few different delays. What's that delay doing? Might not have even sent anything to these, I don't know. The Echo Boy, really nice delay as well. Or Echo. Yeah. For just some tail. H delay, let me have a look at the preset on that setting. This would have been for the vocals, that is, to give it almost like that slap delay sort of effect. Which one's going to it? Yeah. The chorus. Now the chorus, there's quite a lot of stuff going to the chorus. The chorus just gives like the sound that width. If I turn everything off down here, you know, you can really hear how much depth that the return channels are adding. And then just some parallel compression. I think, yeah. And then on the master, I've put on Pro Q4, which is removing a little bit of the low end and then just some of the stereo information. But this, I wouldn't master my own stuff. I'll get my pal, Most Wanted Audio, Ollie, aka Gorp. Make sure to check out some of his beats. Bangers. And it's so, but real amazing, great job. You know, definitely I'd always like trust him to get the masters. Bit of compression there, just the SSL infamous, the Oxford limiter. Now that's the one. Pro Q4, just boosting some of those mid frequencies. The Manly, just a little bit of tweaking going on there, and then the L2. But this is just so I can listen to it, basically, just like in the headphones, in the car, upstairs, wherever. You know, just to get a vibe. But yeah, that's it. Really. Hopefully, if there's anything from that you found helpful, bonus. I'll try and do more and that as well. And yeah, happy producing.